These tables, it's called round tables, are discipline-based. So all the marketing people hang out together, all the strategy people, all the finance people, there are a few HR people, right? They all get together at separate tables, and it's the round table track. So that's a unique, critical component of the NACRA environment. And that may be an opportunity for you as you think about developing your cases, tapping in, plugging in to a supportive community. Academic conferences are great, right? But the downside of many of them is they're fairly critical, can be a touch nasty, and often you don't get a hell of a lot of good feedback, certainly not in the formal processes. You have to go and grab a drink afterwards with a superstar to get some really useful feedback. Whereas the NACRA conference is designed, the 2.5 days is built around this collaborative, friendly, supportive environment. So that may be an opportunity for you. It's happening in mid-October in Newport Beach in Southern California, and so a really cool place to come and hang out as well. So I said, over 300 members from 30 different countries. The other pieces of the conference that may be of interest to you, there's a startup workshop where you submit 2 pages. That's it. 2 pages of your initial ideas for a case. No, the conference is in person. There are a bunch of HiFlex and online synchronous options through the year for the membership, but the conference that happens every year in mid-October is in person. Some of you may remember in 2020, 2021, we did some online stuff. Now we're back to in person. We had 170 people that got together in Orlando this past October with over 150 cases shared and worked on. So startup case workshop, 2-page submission, come together in a table with some mentors and workshop how to make that case into something bigger. How to take the initial 2 pages and turn it into a fuller case. So that may be an important piece to you of that. The pedagogy papers track, so a big focus on case teaching as well. And the pedagogy, or what some might call andragogy, right? Teaching kids, teaching adults, and case teaching. And so we're also accepting papers, traditional academic papers, for that track as well. And then new views, where we really throw it open and say, what's some of that new cool stuff? Half of October was AI. What's some of the new cool stuff that's coming through that we want to talk about, and people come and deliver seminars and workshops in that space. I mentioned the roundtable discipline case tracks. That's a core part of those 2 or 3 days, and really the community that you work with at the conference. The Paul R. Lawrence Fellowship Program. Naveen, shall I talk about the Paul R. Lawrence Fellowship Program? We have previous recipients of the program. This is a development opportunity for emerging scholars in case research, writing, and teaching. And so it offers travel subsidies and a bespoke training program around the conference to about 10 to 12 younger or early career scholars every year. And so all the details are online, and so that may be something that you're interested in as well. The Case Research Journal, I brought a few over here of some physical copies. So this is another outlet for you to think about your high-quality, decision-focused cases. That's the editorial scope of the CRJ, published by NACRA, distributed in a bunch of places, including the Case Center and HBSP and Ivy, with an editorial board from a whole bunch of countries. Regarded by the Academy of Management, Learning and Education as the top academic outlet for discussion-based cases, the ranking that happened a few years ago looking at a bunch of case outlets. So that may be an option for you. The conference is a great place to understand what the CRJ, what the Case Research Journal is looking for, what's a decision-focused case, and what does it take to publish in something like CRJ. If you're a member of NACRA, the royalties come directly to you as the author of those cases from the sales across a whole bunch of different platforms. So that may be an option for you as well. Okay, there's the deadlines. Early to mid-June submission deadlines for different papers and cases, etc. for the conference. Come and hang out in California, and there's the website for any queries. Am I on time? I think that was almost the time. Any questions about the NACRA environment, the NACRA community, the conference next year. Yes. So it's cases that,
Case research.
right,
Oh.
it's cases that contribute to those disciplines,
Okay.
wherever they happen to come from.
Okay.
So whereas in a previous life, as you know, in the Emerald space, I was with EMCS,
Yes.
CRJ, again, covers everywhere. So there aren't geographic limitations.
They're not. Okay.
It's just high quality cases from everywhere, about anywhere.
Okay, that's great. Okay, great.
The authors hold on to the IP of the case. And so it's not signed over to NACRA, the authors hold on to that, but it's then just distributed in a whole bunch of platforms. Okay, come and hang out and chat if you have any queries. There are a few more here if anybody wants one. Fight, 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 fight. So I will put one over here, and I'll head to the back of the room, maybe one over here. Gonna fight, fight, fight. Okay. Thanks very much. Who am I handing this to?
Any more questions for Michael? Any more questions for Michael? Yes? Amen. Does anyone want to share anything with Michael? Thank you so much, Michael, for the intro.
Cool.
We're very much looking forward that we can all collaborate more with NACRA, such a prestigious organization advocating case studies all over the world. And they're very much interested in the region, so it's time that we all collaborate together. Thank you again, Mike. So may I invite the panelists for the last and definitely not least panel. We have the experts in the room, please. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I know this would not be an easy task after the yummy heavy lunch, but I hope that you're more awake now after Michael's short talk. We're really privileged that we had the directors of the case centers across the MEA region in the most prominent universities. We're so happy that they made it and they accepted the invitation to join us. We're looking forward to sharing insights. Throughout the past days, we have yesterday and the online workshop for those who have attended, we have tackled too many topics in case the field of case studies. However, we believe that people who have their hands on, I would say, on a daily basis, definitely with case studies, at different levels, being authors, administrators, liaising with faculty, organizing workshops, you name it, at all fronts, they have a lot to share with us. So let's all raise our concerns, our questions. Let's get something out of this which is actionable. So without any further ado, I would like our esteemed panelists to introduce themselves.
Hi, everybody. Albert Walker. I sound like Michael. We come from the same place. I'm from the Gordon Institute of Business Science of the University of Pretoria. We're based in Sandton. Our case hub was formally created in 2018, and it's the result of, we were building a substantial body of cases at GIBS. We needed to coordinate them and direct them. And this year we should be doing, what's it, Marianne, about 30, maybe 40 cases this year. And over the last few years, we've been producing about 20-odd cases. Our cases are all at Ivy or Emerald.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm Iman El Ghazali, Director of Africa Case Lab at ESCA École de Management Morocco, ESCA School of Business. And I'm very happy to be with you today to share some insights. In our case lab, we are promoting cases rooted in the unique context in Africa's emerging markets. And our activities are mainly about case teaching, case writing, case training, and how to foster a dynamic community of practice of case lovers, case enthusiasts. Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Claire and I'm from Cape Town, South Africa. I run our case writing center and I work with faculty and our students to put together cases. We've got a collection of about 80 published cases and we love what we do. We are very passionate about telling the story out there.
Hi everyone, I am Randa Salamoun. I'm the founding director of the Case Hub at the Suleiman Alayan School of Business, American University of Beirut. I think we are all very passionate and every time we sit together we're very excited and I think we're going to be all very happy to share with you our passion and what we do. The mission of the Case Hub is really beyond the American University of Beirut. We hope to support our community, all of us, everyone here. And so we do lots of activities and webinars with our partners on our own. And I think that I'll be able to tell you more about that in a few minutes.
Hi everyone, David Madhuva from Nairobi, Kenya. I am the editor-in-chief at Strathmore Africa Case Center. It's a case center we established in 2022, and so far we have about 40 case studies. And as my colleagues have said here, we are all here because of the passion we have and the desire to see more case studies written on Africa and other emerging economies. Looking forward to the conversations.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so as we can all see, we have case centers that have been established with different spans and every case center is like at different stage. However, I believe that we mostly face the same challenges more or less. So we'd like to share with our audience what could be challenges to the world of case studies that we are trying to support and to the case method in general, and how over time each of us has actually addressed these concerns and the lessons that could be learned and what worked and what did not work. Can we start with Albert?
Thanks for that. Great question. So the first thing you've got to do is you've got to get faculty who want to teach with cases. If they don't know how to teach cases, don't bother with writing. So get somebody teaching cases. The next issue is you've got to start getting the first people writing, and it's best to have somebody who's written a couple of cases, and you buddy them up. You pair them up with a newer faculty member, and then you get them to write together, and then in the back end, you've got to give support. So at Gibbs, promotion, workload model, your outputs that you've got to do over the year, cases also count. So they don't count as much as a publication, but they also count. And it's for new faculty who haven't published anything, this is a step up towards writing journal articles. It's worked for us, it takes time. We're up to a situation where we've got probably 7, maybe 8 very experienced case writers. Of those, 5 or 6 regularly win awards, and they always buddy up. You'll rarely find a Gibbs case that's written by a solo author. So that's our experience.
Okay.
Thank you. I totally agree with Albert. Case teaching is very important. A case teacher, a case facilitator is likely a better case writer because he knows how to create discussions, meaningful discussions, so he will write a better case study. So I will just share with you what we are doing at our case lab. Some practices are working well, and some are in process, but we experienced some of them and it works. The first argument is what Albert said. Case studies enhance both aspects, and would achieve both goals, advancing research and directly improving learning and education. This is something that research papers often can't do because we don't use directly research paper with our students. We try to show faculty the impact in class. And I use sometimes the academic conferences, the faculty meeting, to invite students to come and give their feedback about case-based courses. And it works with faculty. Comprehensive trainings are very, very important. Workshops, but we can't give just or provide workshops on case teaching and case writing and let faculty and ask them to give award-winning case studies. We have to implement frequent trainings. And other thing we are doing is to have workshops between faculty to share their case ideas, to share their case projects, and discuss how we can improve these projects. Mentoring and coaching. We have a process of mentoring experienced authors, guide new authors from the whole process, from the case idea to writing, to case teaching, to the publishing step. And this is the mentor we have mentors for a group of faculty. Last thing, perhaps, the peer reviewing. Peer reviewing, we have an internal peer reviewing. We peer review each other cases. And the external reviewing will add, for sure, some aspects. And this is a learning opportunity for case author. We have to review cases to enhance our case writing. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing these useful insights. Would anyone else like to share? Yes, please go ahead, Claire.
Yeah, I think I'll just add that also what has really worked for us is having it embedded into our schools. So our director is very passionate about cases. She's an expert at teaching them. And I think that really is encouraging for faculty to also take the first step and to almost spread the culture a bit. And then having supportive resources. So for us, being able to work one-on-one with faculty also helps them, to go through the process, to gain a little bit more confidence. But definitely coming from the top, it makes a big difference.
Okay, I want to ask a question because it was asked by more than one participant in the conference. How would we encourage faculty to start using cases? They would say we're used to the classical mode, it backfires in the teaching evaluation, it requires lots of preparation, it's subjective in the evaluation. So how could we convince them to just start teaching? David or Rhonda or Claire?
Okay, I could go. Just to add on to how we can get faculty writing cases fast, it's I've seen this idea of getting the younger faculty to be ingrained in this process of case writing and all that. And here I'm referring to people like the graduate assistants and even the teaching fellows, then the doctoral fellows. As they get into the teaching fraternity, we start by exposing them to cases and how they can be used. Now, in terms of getting faculty to use cases in teaching and learning, I think one of the things, and I think I've seen this happen elsewhere, it's where, as a business school, you can have a policy to require a certain content of the curriculum to be covered using case studies. And that gets faculty, of course, in the case usage mode. And of course, for every program, there is always the academic director who keeps track of this and makes sure that for us to deliver at that level, and I believe as a business school, you want to deliver something in class that connects with the industry. I mean, we've all seen that these case studies are not fictional. So for us to do that, then there has to be a drive at the institutional level. That's my thinking. And of course, the leadership of the business school should be on top of it. But again, now, just to get faculty in this mode of using cases, it's to have continued support. And I like the ideas we have here of having people, you know, just having discussions within themselves, the trainings, the capacity buildings, and the workshops and the likes, just to get them into this, this arena of using cases.
Yes, go ahead, Rana.
If I may add.
Yes.
So in our case, policies in that direction do not work. We believe in academic freedom and faculty being completely free of managing their classroom and their course in the way they wish. So the way I've been doing it is to try to help course coordinator for the core courses, at least. I mean, I'm referring to our BBA program, for example. So select easy to use, easy to adopt courses, like one for each one of the core courses, and encourage faculty to adopt and experiment. Going gradually is very important because, I mean, the first time faculty usually teach a case, they have a tendency to stick to the teaching note and to be, you know, very stuck by the teaching note, wanting the students to say exactly every single word that was said in the teaching note in the way that it was said. And I try to convey that the teaching note is just a guide, so there is no one single decision, there is no one single solution to a case study. The value of the case is to have this discussion in the classroom, to encourage debate, to help and allow students to think and to reflect and to justify the thinking process. So helping faculty go through this exercise themselves and allowing them to experiment with one case, teach the case more than once. This is very important to become comfortable with it. And then once they are comfortable, try to see if they're willing basically to select a second case and a third case gradually. So this is really a gradual exercise, especially for faculty who have limited experience with teaching with cases.
Thank you. I want just to add 2 tips. I think it's contagious. We have to start, I'm not trying to convince all faculty, just a small number, and after others will integrate. Yes, and we encourage also co-facilitating, starting by having new faculty and experienced one to co-facilitate cases.
Okay. Yes, please.
So very often, to encourage faculty who have taught cases to get them to start writing cases, they normally begin teaching a case they were taught during their MBA. And so you'll get Southwest Airlines, you'll get Microsoft, you'll get things like that. So then you encourage them to look for a local example where you can teach that theory. So take the theory and then look for a local company where you can take most of that and write your first case. Your teaching note is largely, or big pieces of it are largely written for you. And that gets them started. That's if they know and appreciate how to teach cases.
Great. So what other challenges do you think that you're facing? We talked about case teaching. What other aspects are we facing challenges?
The first, for a new case writer, how do you find a case? How do you get access? What am I going to write about? But once you've written a case or two, every new business person you meet is a potential case. And you're just you listening to their stories and you're thinking about what's the theory, what can I use this to teach? So the big trick is to get them to flip like that and then use their friends. Everybody's got a network. You've got former students. They've got stories. So it's just get people to flip that they think about, oh wait, that's an HR problem. You, at a dinner party, you're telling me about a difficult employee. Now, if you're in the case writing mindset, you say, no, but that's actually a case I can teach about discipline or performance management. That's a trick to get them there, but when they get there, they're well on their route, on their way.
Another challenge is to go beyond traditional cases for us. The other formats of cases, video cases, cartoon cases, multimedia cases, simulation cases, it's for us a big challenge.
Thank you. Okay, talking about case writers, as you raised it, we usually face a challenge having experienced and well-developed case writers. How can we face this? Or if you want to share your experiences with case writers in general.
Yeah, we were talking about this just last night, and I think that it's such a unique skill, case writing, that having to develop writers can be quite time-consuming, and you have to put quite a lot of effort into it. One thing that has worked for us is our student research pipeline, so getting students to be part of it. Beyond that, I think developing writers is time-consuming, and it is one of the biggest challenges. You need to almost be a really good writer with a sound understanding of business and how it works. So that's something that we're still looking for solutions on.
I think also partnerships. I think, for instance, as a business school, we've collaborated with WITS in South Africa, and I mean, from there we've been able to tap onto the expertise and the experience from that side, and I've seen it, you know, kind of help us a lot develop even more case writers in our pipeline.
You mean case authors, not as writers?
No, we're talking about case writers, as case writers who support the faculty in the writing process.
Case writers have to be trained clearly, and you have to train them on the skills that you want, and they need to have, you know, been exposed to learning with cases, learning through cases, to really understand both sides of the case. I mean, we have a tendency to talk about case teaching as if it was an independent activity, but I think Scott has touched on this earlier this morning. Case teaching and case writing are really two sides of the same token, and if you're writing a case and you don't know how to use it, it's going to be a challenge. This is why the case writers must have a lot of experience with discussing cases themselves and being exposed to that. So yes, I think that this is an important challenge that we are raising here. And what we need to keep in mind also is that as faculty, we cannot train case writers if we do not have the experience of writing cases ourselves. I mean, you cannot manage someone and giving adequate guidance and adequate feedback if you do not really have a thorough and very deep understanding of the type of tricks and tips that you want to give them.
Thank you. Just to clarify and make sure that we're all on the same page, we're talking about case writers who support the faculty in their case writing process. Because while writing a case, it's like the RA. So it is a case writer who's into the art of case writing. They know what they're talking about. They can do research. They are familiar with the way of crafting a case study that they can support the faculty.
We use at most 2 case writers at Gibbs, and they volunteer into it. They're not very good at a teaching note. We prefer our faculty to be writing. Our faculty write it. As Scott was saying, you've got to think that if you're going to do it quickly, you've got to think about that theory running with the story. So, yeah, we were talking, I can't do a case in 7 minutes. But I have written a case and a teaching note in 5 days. So a comprehensive case and a comprehensive teaching note. A 9-page case and about an 11-page teaching note in 5 days. 5 dedicated days. Why? Because I knew the story, I knew exactly what I was going to use it for teaching. I can't teach a case writer to do that, they're just going to slow me down.
Good point. Okay. As we have, yeah, go ahead.
So just to add on to what Albert says, because I'm seeing that some people are really surprised. So when we are writing a case, most of the time is used up by figuring out how we want to frame it. So clearly, when Albert is saying that he did this in 5 days, he knew exactly how it was going to be framed. Exactly. He knew what the problem was. He knew what the, sorry, I don't mean to explain what you meant, but I'm just seeing the surprise. So he knew what theories he wanted to apply, and he knew exactly what the learning objectives were. And he probably had a very clear mental view of how he wanted to conduct the class. So with all these elements in mind, yes, 5 days is exactly the amount of time that you would need.
The challenge is set, folks. Next year, this time, you're beating that number, not 7 minutes though. 18 actually.
No, but this is not the usual at all, Albert. You're setting the standards very high. No, this is not the norm at all. Claire, do you want to share?
I just wanted to add that in terms of writing, I'm looking at Vicky there. There are a lot of amazing case writing and teaching courses that you should attend if you really want to get to grips quite quickly with walking that first journey of writing your first case. Once you've done the first case, you're going to want to write the next one quite soon after that, you know. So there's a lot of training globally, and I highly recommend attending, you know, whatever is possible.
Just to add, Inji, because Vicky and her team are doing a very good job. You, as educator, we have the educator access to the case collection. And when we want to write case, we have to see what is a case study, what is a teaching note of case study. And seeing all the published case studies in the case collection, it is very helpful.
Thank you. Okay, as we have been talking about sustainability and impact and how we can drive this through case studies. So how do you see case studies as a catalyst to drive sustainability and social impact? David or Claire, if you want to.
Yeah, I'm happy to take that question. I think it's a great question because for me, cases are an incredible social impact tool. If we think that in Africa we've got the largest number of social entrepreneurs in the world, so they, you know, the social impact that is being created here by businesses, they're always also looking for more tools, further research, and they look to institutions for that. So cases that go on to be published and written, really, it's as if we are exporting knowledge. And that's a beautiful thing because it goes out there. We tell the story. At the GSB, what we specialize in is social innovation and entrepreneurship. So our students want cases. They want to know about the reality of doing business here in Africa. And so I highly encourage you to go for it because students want to read about what happened to Wasoko, what happened to Jumia, what is it like doing business in these different areas. So I think it's a great impact tool, and it also goes full circle. It goes all the way back from creation into the classroom. Those cases then, our students become those entrepreneurs that are then the change makers in the world. And it's quite a privilege to see that.
David, would you like to add something?
Sure. Very happy to chip in this conversation of sustainability. Actually, last week, we launched 17 case studies, and all these case studies were on social enterprises. And these are case studies which were generated out of research-funded kind of grant. And actually, that's a trend I've seen. Some research, grants coming with a requirement to have some case studies generated. And from that experience, first, it was funded. At least there was the incentive to get faculty and people to write the cases. But secondly, just looking at the impact of those cases, these were social enterprises being run by the religious. These are faith-based kind of social enterprises. And some of the things that we were able to see is how many of the participants in that project were able to be even trained using the case studies. And this training came in the form of using the case studies, of course, and when they're in that, setting, the ability to compare themselves, whatever it is that they're running, with the lessons learned from the cases that had already been documented. And I could even see a number of them coming up and, wanting to be part of this exercise and even documenting some cases and coming up actually and offering some of their other social enterprises to be documented and the likes. And as my colleague has said here, when these case studies are out there, of course we've been tracking the usage and all that, and you can clearly see there is a bit of interest. You could see the number of downloads for various users and all that. And I want to believe these case studies are going to be used. They are open access. They are going to be used, to even create the awareness and help more people learn from whatever experiences. And mind you, the case studies are just looking at all sides of the coin. I mean, the successes, the struggles, the failures. And I believe from that, people get to learn a lot. And talking of also scalability, because again, I'll just give the example of that project. It was talking about transforming social ministries or charities into sustainable social enterprises. And you can clearly see it's a journey. It's not a static thing or a one kind of, it doesn't happen at one point in time. And what I've seen is people making gradual improvements out of whatever it is was done there. And that speaks to scaling and, of course, getting to see these social enterprises into the long run. And I believe when we connect sustainability with the SDGs, we can have case studies, covering all sorts of things, be it, of course, around the ESG discussion, environmental, social, as well as governance. And my belief is, looks like every case documented has an inkling towards ESG. I think there's always a connection. You study that case study, you'll always see there's some element, be it leadership, governance, water, whatever it is. I want to believe there's always a connection with the SDGs. Thank you.
Iman, you want to add something?
For the case writing, I think we have to encourage faculty to write different types of cases. I heard about big companies. We can have great cases dealing with small companies, with SMEs, with auto entrepreneurs. We had award-winning cases dealing with small companies. And we have to encourage also faculty to write cases, different cases, field-based cases, secondary data-based cases, and even fictional cases. Some journals are fictional. By fictional, it's not real cases. Real cases dealing with real realities, but we have sometimes to change things. How we can ask a professor in the auditing field to publish a case field-based, it's difficult. How with field-based cases, we have more success stories and less failure success stories. So.
I think Albert want to comment to this.
Okay, the problem with fictional cases is they don't feel authentic. What you can do is you can go to the company, a real company, you can change their name. You can change their financials, but no more than 20%, either way, and keep your ratios okay. But do not write fictional cases. They don't work, they don't land, you won't sell many. They're really just a bad idea. They're a fairy tale.
No, I think Iman means case masking, not fictional cases.
Not fictional.
Masking. It's disguised cases. Disguised cases.
And not armchair cases, disguised cases, and if needed, because sometimes we need
But the question now to the publishers at the back of the whole.
If I may, what we did not mention is the experience cases. So the experience cases can be built by accumulated experience in a specific field. So combining bits and pieces of experiences over time, and those are publishable, and they are not fictional. So that's really the edge, I think, of what would work.
Speaking of disguised cases, would publishers still accept it? Because back long ago, even fictional cases were. So we just want to get the confirmation from the publishers because, case stand? No, exactly. Exactly. So that's why it depends on the publisher. Emerald, yes. Case center. Disguised cases, yeah. Like ABC Company. Yeah. And for Emerald, do you still accept disguised cases? Yeah, exactly. So it depends on where you're going to publish. We have to double check with the publishing guidelines. So I think it has to be according to the publisher guidelines.
I think it's interesting for the case writing learning process for faculty.
So again, if we're talking about sustainability and case studies, what criteria and frameworks do you think should guide the case writing and case usage if we are, again, to support this direction?
Okay, thank you. Actually, thanks to Michael. I want to refer you to page 99 of the textbook. This is where you say, in my book. That is Michael Goldman's book. You remember the book he has just shared? Eh? Yeah, on page 99, it talks about the book talks about some of the criteria or frameworks that can be used to document case studies around sustainability. And one of the obvious one, it's the UN SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals framework, together with, of course, the ESG architecture there. But then, of course, we have other frameworks like the circular economy. You can always, like I've seen cases in supply chain or agribusiness, agriculture, and the likes, using the circular economy approach to link to sustainability. There are many other frameworks, like from cradle to cradle, right? Just documenting a case study around the life cycle, be it a product, you're just looking at the various processes or the steps that it might have gone and everything that goes in it from a sustainability perspective. Now, being an accountant, of course, we have frameworks that have already been developed, like the GRI, standards. Now, like in accounting, we have financial reporting standards linked to sustainability, right? We can always borrow that, I think, in accounting, assurance, and the likes. And there are many others. I was using AI, that is ChatGPT, and it gave me around 13 of these. And I want maybe to challenge all of us to have a look at it. The likes of triple bottom line, stakeholder analysis, the natural step frame, eco-efficiency. I think we've talked about life cycle and the likes. So there are many, many frameworks out there which we can actually apply to document case studies around sustainability. But as my colleagues and everyone here has said, it begins with the idea. If you want to document a case study on leadership, well, it might take the G, the governance route or the leadership route. But again, it starts with the idea and the target. Where do you want to see that case? And I'm so happy to hear of the 5-day case study that was generated here. I also had a similar experience where we had to document a case study. At least we had 2 months, not 5 days, to document a case study that was targeted for the global CEO program. So again, you can see at times it starts, but it took a governance and strategy perspective. And I want to believe that can be linked to sustainability in some way.
Thank you, David. Anyone wants to reflect? Yes, Claire.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that we also tag our cases so that, from the beginning, it's a good idea to think about that in the beginning. Where does it fit in terms of sustainability?
Perfect. Any other comments? Yes, Albert, please.
So many of the sustainability issues are themes, cross-cutting discipline themes. And in a business school, you've got marketing, you've got HR, you've got economics, and so on. So this adds complexity. And so look at it as a theme. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult. I'm teaching pollution today. On what course are you teaching pollution? So think about that. But instead of just teaching finance, you bring in some of the gin stuff and you start learning about what's carbon pricing and things like that. Then it starts getting more interesting. And those kind of cases will sell, particularly if you're adding an element to what's existing there. But I do suggest you start with, what are you actually teaching your students? What's the toolkit that your students are looking for? And you add a sustainable SDG angle to it.
Randa, I wanted to add something.
I just wanted to add that in the same way that we tag the cases when we write them, they are also tagged in the collection. So when you are searching for a case, you know exactly which SDG it tackles and what theory it tackles. So it will help you out pick a case if you want to teach a case, or if you want to write a case. It can help you also see what other cases have been written about this subject, about this SDG, because you don't want to repeat cases that were already written. The publishers don't want to have their sales cannibalized by, similar cases that are being published or replicated in other contexts.
Great. Okay, as we are getting to the last minutes of the whole conference and to our panel, I think everyone is very much excited and interested. So what's next? How to move forward? We have here on the panel case experts from across the MEA region. If anyone is to start on embarking and adopting the journey of case studies, what is needed and what could be done next? David, let's.
With that.
You want to? Yes. Okay. David, go ahead, David.
All right. So I think first, what we are doing here is a very good step forward. Coming together, I think we are all pulling towards a similar goal, getting the case studies documented, and I look forward to seeing more of these kind of forums where like-minded, very passionate individuals coming together just to discuss matters, case studies, and how we can generate more of these stories. I think Africa, with an average age of, is it 19 or something? I don't know. There's a lot of potential, and the population and the many companies that we have here, there's a very great potential to have many case studies generated. And mine is to encourage all of us to continue with these initiatives, because there is a real need to have cases documented for Africa, and at times I normally say by Africans. There is a bit of contextual, institutional nuances that are better captured by Africans when they write case studies of African businesses. Thank you.
So one of the ways that we've been supporting the community is really by working together. We've been collaborating across centers for the past couple of years. One important initiative that I have launched 3 years ago is an annual case conference. So the EUB OSB case conference is held once a year, and if you're interested, you're all invited to attend. It's going to be in February on our twin campus in Paphos. So this is a learning platform, developmental platform. So it's not only keynotes and workshops, it's also a lot of development of cases, very much similar to what Michael was describing earlier about NACRA. And in fact, we are NACRA's strategic partner in the Middle East and North Africa region. And so one of the things that we're doing also is joint webinars. We have one or two that will be planned for spring, and it will be advertised as soon as we agree on it. Case writing competitions, webinars, workshops, and one-on-one mentoring for both our own faculty and anyone in the region who's interested to know more. And I think that by working on this, all of us together, the case centers, the editors, the people interested in developing cases about Africa, the Middle East, the Gulf, the MENA. We are going to be only succeeding if we do this work together.
Thank you. Claire?
Yeah, I would say more networking, working together in South Africa. We've really come together as schools. We're starting to partner more and work together. And then I would also say be brave and push boundaries. We've also just finished a new case collection called Doing Business in Africa, and that's going to be a free case collection that we hope will be on the Case Center. So there's opportunity to push boundaries, have some fun, just go for it.
Thank you. Iman?
I think we have to collaborate more with other institutions in the region to have joint cases between our faculty.
Co-authorship, you mean, right?
Co-authorship.
Yes.
Do you remember, Inji, we had
We
years
had an
ago
amazing case collection,
collection.
7 years back, I would
Yeah.
say.
And we have the right to use each other cases. It's very interesting. I think what we have to do also is to foster partnerships with companies to have industry-relevant cases. This is something we have to work on. And I think also we have to participate more in global conferences, in advisory boards, to represent more our region, because we are underrepresented in many
Totally
conferences.
agree. Totally agree. And at the beginning of the conference, actually, I was saying that we have always said MENA, 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 and this is the time that we say it's MEA. Given our, I was talking about Egypt, given our strategic geographical location, we can advocate definitely for the Middle East and for all of Africa, and this is what we should all be doing. We should not be excluding any part of the continent. Albert, please.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't speak for Middle East, only Africa. So welcome, Egypt. I'm joking, folks.
Thank you, South Africa.
Just my suggestion is you've absolutely got to take advantage of the resources that the Case Center offers you. You've got to take advantage of Ivy, Emerald. Everything's there. Get yourself up to a level. Get yourself up to qualifying for the game, teaching cases, start writing your first case, and then collaborate with us. Come see us more often. Give us ideas. Work with us. I'm thinking we've got at least 8 really, really good case writers at Gibbs. We've developed them over the last 10, 15 years. Collaborate with them. They always, if you've got a great new story and you just need to convert that story into something that's teachable, we are more than happy to play with you. Play with you. Work with you. And I can say with confidence for my colleagues, any South African business school will absolutely be very, very excited to work with you. So reach out to us.
Okay. One final note. If any one of us would like to say one final comment and give steps for each one of the participants getting out of this hall in few minutes, what would you say going forward and back to your classrooms? What should you do next? And by next, I mean the very, very near future.
I think I have to recall one point. Case studies are yet to get the same recognition as other research contribution. I think this is important. If ACSB are hearing, if other accreditation bodies are hearing, we need it, and we have to put this in our research strategy. It's very important to enhance case writing, case teaching, and to shape future leaders.
Spot on. I think this coincides with what Dr. Nermeen shared yesterday. Then we have to start asking for it more. We have to start pushing for the policies and the management that this should be recognized more. And it will not come except by collective effort. Yes, Rhonda, please.
So one tip for everyone here, if you have never used a case, as soon as you step out of here, create an account on the Case Center website as an educator, create an account on Ivy Publishing website as an educator, on Harvard Business Publishing. On Emerald, we don't have access to the cases if we're educators. I'm sorry. You need to pay to get access to the collection.
No, there is free access. Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Through the
you're
Egyptian
so
Knowledge
lucky.
Bank.
We don't
Yes.
have this luxury, unfortunately, in Lebanon.
There is a
So-
tip, Randa, sorry.
Africans don't have it either.
There is a tip as a
So
reviewer.
just to finish what I was going to say, download the first case with the teaching note, something that you teach regularly, a course you're comfortable with, and read the case. And I think that everything we've said will make much more sense at that point in time.
Spot on.
Sorry, Iman.
Spot on, definitely.
It's,
Yes.
in the same way, as a reviewer, for example, for emerging markets case studies, you have access after. More you are reviewing cases, more you have access to the collection.
David, would you like to share a quick tip, or Claire? Yeah.
I think I agree with my colleagues here. So mine is to maybe encourage, you can even set a target for yourself. By Q1 2025, you document a case study and submit to any of the platforms we have here. That's my challenge to all of us.
Yeah, I think I agree totally. Read cases, partner. If you haven't written a case before, then as Albert was saying, go through the process, be mentored by someone else. Our case centers are available, so that's a really great way to work through your first case.
Just one tip, co-facilitate and co-write cases.
So to pick on David's point, I know you've all interviewed somebody, you've all got an interesting case somewhere in your mind, you've got data, it's very easy, go write it up. You've got 5 days.
And I would like to add to Rhonda, please also visit the KCC database. We have more than 170 cases. They're ready for use. We will direct you about how best to use it with the teaching notes. They're mostly from the region, we promise you. Many of them are about Egypt, but others about the MEA region. We have our case collection with the ESCA already. So these are all quick tips that I believe that tomorrow morning you could just apply and you get into the world of case studies step by step.
And there is the AUB case collection.
Okay, sure. Okay, and now I would like to open the floor for questions, please, discussions, comments. Please, may I ask that we can rotate the mics? Yes, please. We'll start with Ahmed. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. I have 2 things to add about the role of the case centers, and I have the leaders of the case centers from the region here. The first thing is being a faculty is a lonely job. So I get to do everything alone, and I don't. It's not really easy to interact with my colleagues. So maybe the case centers would facilitate that. You can create at least once every semester some sort of a gathering or a meeting or a session or workshop, whatever it is, to help the faculty to meet and discuss the cases that they want to teach, mentor each other in a way locally before I can reach out to other people externally. So that's one thing. The other thing is that something that has been bugging me for a few months is is it possible to create some sort of a case study that utilizes AI in a way? My students use ChatGPT to solve their cases without analyzing them themselves. So I'm okay with that, with guidance for me and interference for me. The issue is, can we create a case study that is interactive to have a certain, what they call it, modules, بيسموه ايه في ChatGPT ده? I don't know.
Prompts.
Not a prompt. اسمها ايه؟ البتاع, when you have a specialized GPT that interacts with you, say? I don't know, whatever. I'm not the expert. You can create a customized GPT to have the roles of the people inside the case. You have, for example, the CEO, the financial manager, whoever, and you can create a certain GPT that interacts with the student, and the student goes into the case. They exist. But
They exist. They're obscenely expensive. Good luck getting your school to support that.
He's from the AUC School of Business.
Okay, that would be something interesting for a reason, because the traditional way of writing cases, I'm not criticizing, I'm saying that someday in the future, students would not prefer to read the case, maybe interact with it. So maybe we can do that. Maybe the case centers can do that.
So just to your last point, the fact that students don't want to read. So now with the facility for us to film with our phones and to edit scenes very easily, one new trend is to actually have a very short case, a page or a page and a half, and to embed snapshots from the interview as part of the case content. So basically you have a hybrid case which combines both text and video, and it can be more engaging for some students.
Successful case teaching requires preparation from the students. If they haven't read, you've got a problem. So you either walk out of that room and you tell them they've got 20 minutes to read, and you give them 3 questions that they must be able to answer. Or alternatively, you make it part of their class mark, participation mark, and you can cold call them, and you have a teaching assistant who gives them a mark. Or what I've done is I have a multiple choice on the case 5 minutes before the class starts. And the quality of interaction has gone up. And then, of course, I don't give them slides. I do the whole case on the board. And they say, so where are the slides? I say, take your camera out, take a photo of the board. That's the dilemma. That's the analysis. That's the decision. What do you want?
One tip is I'm sharing cases with students via learning management system. So sometimes it's better and they feel it's virtual for them.
David, please, do you want to add something?
Yeah, mine is very small. You get the participants be the actors when you're delivering the case. And here I'm referring to designing the delivery in a role play mode. And I like this idea of having a multimedia case. Of course, it requires a bit of investment, but yeah, it's possible. But the other route is get the participants take part in delivering the case and acting, right? I mean, we've done like a board setup where discussions are based on the case study, and you can see all sorts of ways of looking at the same thing from the participants. But that requires them to have read and requires a bit of a skill from the facilitator to get them to read the case study. So that's another part.
Okay, if you would allow me, I would like to share an experience. We had the first case that we had it multimedia or video case. It was the Farco case actually when Dr. Shireen was here. We had it the usual text case along with video supplements. And we actually used it for the first time in an international case competition when we had more than 200 students from across the globe analyzing this case. And the experience was just wow compared to other cases that were just text. And at the end, what we did actually, it was not that he was involved from the beginning, he was involved at the final judging. They felt very much related to the company because they knew the protagonist from day one. It was a set of interviews, each giving a certain tip. So it's as if they have worked the journey with the protagonist and then seeing him by themselves judging the case, even if it was virtual, it gave them a totally different feeling and engagement. It's great for executive education as well, but this was for undergrad and they had an extremely positive experience. Yeah.
Yeah,
if I may, it's not the case centers who should be doing this more. It's you faculty who should be doing this more.
It's both of us.
And then we will be happy to facilitate the publication of your case.
It's both of us. Actually, the way it was exactly both of us. We support with the resources, with the technicality, sometimes with the budget if we have the luxury of it, and you guide us of what to be addressed and what should be added. Claire, please.
Yeah, and I think before you give up on making students read, because it is really important, you know, I'll try, because our students, our MBA level, our dean teaches political economy with for 2 weeks with only big, large country cases, 2 or 3 a day. They love it. They have to come prepared. It's very difficult. It's something that is just so exhilarating in the classroom. So there is this pressure about, you know, things have to be shorter, they've got to be, there are all sorts of formats. We're also doing it, we're doing new formats. But the traditional case really lends itself to case teaching. So get going first, and yeah, don't be scared about length of cases either.
Okay, can we have the question? Okay. Oh, sorry. First, yes, go ahead.
Okay, following up with the last question regarding what to do next. طبعا we discussed many things yesterday and today regarding the tips how to start writing, and I and my colleagues are very interested in writing cases, but I was thinking that whether we could focus on is it do you advise that we focus on local companies, startups, or global companies are better to start with, and whether this depends or will it depend on the data available that we can have, because some of the companies are not willing to give you access to any of the data or not.
Iman wants to comment? Okay. Claire?
Yeah, I think the same, you know, the larger the company, there tends to be a little bit more red tape, but start with connections that you have. We actually advise our faculty to look at their curriculum and see where are the gaps, where do I have needs to creating cases, and then to think about, like Albert said, there's a case almost at every table or every turn as soon as you start to think about it. Look for connections, direct contacts. Smaller startups are easier to approach, but what we generally do is we talk about consent for the case publishing at the beginning.
Iman, you want to add something?
Just to add one point, alumni are a treasure. Alumni.
Alumni is a keyword, true. Yeah. Randa?
You would be surprised. Companies do not say no. I never, ever had a no when I reached out to someone to write a case. I think we are concerned about this. This concern is more than the reality. Reach out to someone, you would be surprised.
I think it depends on the country, because we have just had a case that was totally finalized, and even to avoid this, we now have something called preliminary case release, that we put them in the mindset that this is going to be a case published in X venue. We have preliminary case approval and consent, and just before submitting to the publisher in a competition, they did not want to sign it off. Exactly. So I think it's a cultural, probably country thing, or I don't know the dimensions. But again, I would go with alumni connections. It works very good.
Prepare yourself for it. It happens. I've written cases for really big company, one of the big 4 accounting firms, and at the last moment, they withdrew. It happens. Then you either remove all your interviews and you use public data. And so then we end up with KPMG, not KPMG, not the big 4 company that said no. We end up with McKinsey, and McKinsey facilitating corruption. And it's a Harvard bestseller case, and has been for almost a year. So you can do that. And absolutely, to Claire's point, what's the gap in your curriculum you need to cover?
Thank you so much. You give us very useful tips on how to start writing a case. I'm a fan of using cases, and I agree with Albert. I have lots of stories. It's from alumni. It is from students who have been doing some projects about some of the courses, and they already get connections with these companies. I have lots of data. But you just mentioned reach out for co-author, someone to help if we don't have the skill of writing a case. I'm definitely going to reach out. The challenge I'm personally facing is when I reach out, for example, and I did that many times with KCC and with Emerald, I'm reaching out for help, but if I'm publishing at Emerald, it is something like they cannot help since they will be the one reviewing the case for publication. So if there's anything I'm missing here, whom to reach out to help me co-authoring other than the publisher who is going to review it, so he cannot do it with me. So if there's anything I'm missing here.
Nermeen would like to comment.
Experience. Lucy, I can get your point. Definitely, yeah, that's what INGI is always supporting with, because definitely you cannot be approaching the publisher, as at the end of the day, you're going to be doing the second round of peer review. As I think Iman said, like we do an internal peer review process, giving each other feedback, so that when it reaches the publisher's end, it's almost readily available for publication. But of course, I totally agree with you, like even it was going to be looking very awkward if you have a publisher supporting at the very beginning or being as a co-author. I can only say it's colleagues or writers. If you've got previous assistants, maybe you're going to train them, have them going through the process. If they are interested in cases in general, they are good writers, so you can have them trained, and we've got that experience before with several faculty members. I hope this helps. Yes.
Oh, okay. Are you in a UC faculty?
Sorry?
Are you in a UC faculty?
Yes.
Then Angie is the best person to match you with a co-author.
Sure. No, I think Irini is referring to the writing process. What we were discussing last night is to find the mix between someone who has the business acumen and the writing skills. This is what faculty need more. And in KCC, we're trying to support more and more case writers' development. This is what we were just discussing last night.
And what I meant exactly is I have a case, I have the story, I have the information, I have everything here, but I need someone who is, they have the skill of writing the case, putting this in the right format to be published. Definitely KCC cannot help me with that if they will be the
co-authorship. It's co-authorship. Vicky is there and it's the co-authorship.
Yes.
No.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for the shout outs as well, greatly appreciated. So a couple of things. Because of our independence, if anyone's looking for extra support with case writing, we have a bank of case writers that have volunteered to help. So you can always get in touch with us and we can connect and you can have a discussion. We also have a LinkedIn group called the Case Writing and Teaching Exchange. If you join the LinkedIn group, you can just discuss with fellow case writers and teachers on that group and share ideas, and you may even make connections there for someone to help support write a case with you.
And is this free of charge, Vicky?
That's free of charge, all free of charge, yes.
Okay.
That's very helpful.
Okay.
This is the
and
answer.
I think also, as Nermeen was saying, it's co-authorship, and as Iman and Randa were saying, looking for experts who have started maybe ahead of the process and they can guide you about, I think you're talking about engineering the case, right?
Yes,
so
formatting it.
It's engineering the case. I think if you have like a colleague in the same field, they would provide the initial step, we could support further, and then the process goes. Randa,
if I may, honestly, if this is your first case, I do not recommend resorting to a case writer. I really think the first time you need to go through the process to really master it, and then outsource as much as you want.
No, I think we're talking about co-authorship with another faculty experienced writer.
Co-authorship, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And this is
not
why
case
I told
writer,
her
because you need to coach the case writer.
But the first time case writer is tricky.
Even the second or the third, I would say.
Because you don't want to have the case writer take over your case. You want to be in
exactly,
control.
and you need to direct and coach them. So I wouldn't even go with the third or even fourth case. Agree. Any reflections on this point, or shall I go to your question?
Can I
yes,
add
please,
something?
Mahi.
I've been attending the panels yesterday and today, and I'm Mahinur Agda. I'm the publishing and training manager for the MEA region at Emerald. So I've been doing so many sessions and webinars on case writing and publishing best practices for using cases, for faculty and teachers, and of course I work for a publisher who publish cases. So I just would like to highlight out of the experience and the observation that I've seen that we have so many things that we need to work on, and especially we have an opportunity here. We're sitting with among the biggest case centers and experts in the field. So the thing is, as I agree with Inji that each region have, or each even country have different struggles and obstacles that they face, the writers and the authors and even the users. First of all, you need to know who are the publishers or the main centers and cases who are publishing and experience in this. There's a lot of free resources and free webinars that we do. In Emerald, we have the Case Hub, and actually it's free courses that's on case writing, case teaching, and using and learning with cases. And it's online interactive courses and videos, and you can sign for it and you can take it, and it saves your progress, and there's no fees required. We do so many webinars free. And we do so many webinars on that cases too, and I even go on site for so many, and across actually the world, they do so many webinars, and it's all for free.
And we have joined webinars, we have been...
Yeah, and we do share webinars, and we do webinars with the case center. I learned from a lot of people in this room that I've never even met before, and it's the first time to meet them. But the thing is, I believe that the importance of cases and writing cases and publishing cases, it will start from actually the more the people they're aware on and integrating cases within their curriculums. So I believe that we need to create a holistic idea to approach the institutions and business schools and encourage them to integrate cases within the curriculum. So it's a mandatory thing to do within these curriculums. So I find it here only in the AUC, some courses at the other universities, but it's not mandatory. And I can see a lot of business schools, they only use the short cases they find it in the books and not the actual cases. So if we start using cases, the faculty, they'll start being obligated to use cases within different cases during the courses that they teach. And then they'll create awareness about they want to publish their own cases, because if they are familiar with the cases that they've already published, it will even drive a better negotiation and better understanding with the students. Then the students will have the better, so it's a holistic idea, but the thing is, I think we need to start with the institutions. The more they use the cases, the more the publications will come, and the better the awareness. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mahinur. I think you had a question?
I had previously two comments. First of all, I don't believe that if we have a fictitious case study, it will be a bad practice. Why not? At the end, we want a motto. We want something to us students based on our learning objectives, based on the topic. Even if it's something made up, it's not wrong. This is one of the comments. Another
Michael would like to comment on this. And go ahead, Mike. Can you please give the mic to Michael?
So there are places that you could publish fiction, and there's lots of fiction in the world. And fiction can be useful both for recreational and for learning purposes, but it's not research. And so as a scientific endeavor in an academic institution, what I would encourage you to think about is what is our scientific knowledge creation and dissemination project? Case research. So it's a research endeavor. We follow a method, a case research method, right? And so the risk about writing fiction as research, as an academic, is how that's going to be perceived by the community of scholars. We contribute to a body of knowledge. We make an intellectual contribution as scholars. This is part of our project. So I'd encourage you to just think carefully about your own institution and how it considers that as research output or not, and your own profile as a scholar, and the extent to which you may balance the work that may be considered by others as research following the scientific method or fiction. that may be very useful in certain contexts, but is probably not seen by the community of scholars as research. Does that make sense?
It does, but you're speaking about sometimes you use it as a mini case study to elaborate something for students. That does not mean I put my name in it and publish it. And you always have many cases after each topic in every textbook we teach, especially for undergraduate. And I don't think these are real case studies. Or they are derived from certain contexts and scripts. And they elaborate what we need to do. At the end of the day, the case study is a tool to help you convey whatever you want to state to your students, especially undergraduate. Perhaps what you're saying is a must and compulsory and mandatory for postgraduate students and graduate students. But when I have undergraduate students still don't know what's going on, and I want to elaborate by storytelling, by something that's very simple to them, why not?
I think the why not that I would encourage you to think about is what is the kind of impact that you want your work to have? If the impact is limited to a teaching impact,
yes,
where illustrations, examples, fictional imaginations can help teach, great.
But this is what I'm speaking about.
That is one piece of the potential impact. What I'd encourage you to think about is that a lot of the conversation of the last 2 days has been about how we can make a much more substantial impact to a broader set of stakeholders that may benefit our academic careers, the prestige of our organizations, our global ranking, and a whole bunch of other benefits, if we consider that the impact could be broader than just teaching in a classroom. So if you see cases as similar to other examples and tools for teaching, that's fine, but that's only one piece, one rather small piece of the impact that case research can make. And if you focus on that piece only, then I think the argument about fiction being an equivalent makes sense, but the publication of that, I think, would be a struggle. Because the publication would be about research, right? We have academic publishers who really are about participating in the scholarly project. So I think it's about, which institution are you at? What project are you involved in? As in, what are we trying to do? And what kind of impact do you want to make? And I think that's the context. And every community, I think, defines its set of rules, right? The community of practice.
So Mike, just summarize Michael's point's exactly right. You're signaling to the academic community that you can't do quality research or you can't write a quality case. That's what he's saying in a nutshell. I'm blunt, I can't help it. So avoid that. Your bigger problem is it's inauthentic. And the students pick it up immediately. This looks like a manufactured dilemma. The students pick it up immediately. Your dilemma will not be complex. Your dilemma won't be bringing in things like what happened around the world at that kind of time. Just don't do it. The ultimate teaching experience is when you have the protagonist sitting in the room quietly, you teach the case for 90 minutes, the protagonist comes out and says, yes, the class read that exactly right. That's what happened. That's what happened. And this is what I did. Students remember that years and years later. That's an authentic experience. And if that's being used to draw the diagrams or the models that you're trying to teach, it lands, that's learning. But your danger with fiction, maybe you can't do it well, is the loss of authenticity, and as Michael says, you're signaling to the rest of the world a message you don't want to signal.
I think if we look at this through another lens, it will help you. So basically, case studies are something that is very specific. They have a very clear structure and very clear guidelines, and those are the methods, research methods that Michael was referring to. Now, what you are describing is something that exists, and it's called an exercise. So let's make the distinction between an exercise, which is a scenario that we make up that is fictitious, that allows students to practice a certain concept, from a case study which is based on field research or published research, etc. And so with this terminology, I think we can clarify it.
Yes.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. Okay, Dr. Shireen, you had a question or a comment? Okay, so just any more questions or comments? Okay, one final question.
Hello everyone, Dua Ayoub, Assistant Lecturer of Marketing, British University in Egypt. It's not a question, okay, I want to thank you all. And thank you, NG, for giving us the opportunity to be here. But I want to say something. It was amazing and impactful conference. And I want to tell you that I started writing points and the title of my case and everything in my mind now. So thank you very much for urging us all to start writing a cases. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the positive comment. Thank you so much. That's so kind of everyone. Okay, and with this, we conclude our last panel. And we conclude the panels. This is now time for just wrap up and announcements. I would like to thank the panelists deeply and truly highly appreciated. And this kind of conversations that are highly needed, this is what inspires others. It's the collective and synergy effect. I believe each one of us has been working for long, but coming all together, this is what's way more impactful for all the communities. So thank you again. Thank you, everyone. Okay, now it's time for the wrap-up. We will start with, okay. We had been partnering with the Emerald in the Africa and Middle East case writing competition, and we could not think of a better venue than this to announce the winners across the MEA region. And actually, we have the representation of one of the schools from which the winners are. We don't have the winners in a two-way communication. However, they are joining us via the streaming. So now we'll be announcing. Mahinur, would you please join me? Okay, may I ask that we have the presentation on for the winners' announcements, please? Yes, okay. So now meet the winners. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Let's go to the winner, please. So the winners are two from Strathmore University in Kenya. And we have the representation by David Matuva, the Associate Dean. David, would you come on stage, please, on behalf of the winners, please? So David, take photo with us. Okay. On behalf of Emerald and KCC team, we want to congratulate John and Susan. So please pass our regards and congratulations. And also we have Onasmus from Imperial College, UK. Thank you so much for your efforts and for supporting the case. Thank you. Thank you so much. We have the first place from, okay, it's Stephanie Townsend from Johannesburg, from the University of Wits, so it's South Africa. And it was co-authored with Boris, again from University of Wits, Johannesburg. And I had the privilege to deliver a session jointly with Morris last July in the AACSB Africa. So congratulations, Boris and Stephanie. And we have the third place by, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Kamranizia Aziz, Mahnur Khan, Nabil Pathan, and Ali Raza. And they're all affiliated with the Soccer Institute of Business Administration in Pakistan. So congratulations to all winners. Thank you so much, Mahinur and Emerald team, for having this competition. We have been having it for 4 years now. Congratulations to all winners. And now, inspired by Nakra, we had something called the KCC MEA Fellowship. So, Nermeen, would you please join me? Please explain more about how we had the fellowship and the KCC Case Fellowship. And I would like to invite all fellows who are still here to come to stage, please.
Hello again for the final words that we're having together. Actually, as Michael said, I was lucky to be a NACRA fellow back in 2017. And I remember very well the conversation that I had with Anne Lawrence, whom the fellowship was named after her. I was discussing with her that I'm an advisor to KCC back then at that time, and probably a future director. And also that we'd like to spread the words at the region. And actually, Anne was so happy about it, like spreading the word, having a conference later on, and maybe having a fellowship. So again, here comes the time that we're having the KCC Fellowship, launched for the first time, along with the inaugural conference that we have just launched these 2 days. So for the fellowship that we're having, we offered a pre-conference workshop yesterday. It was delivered only and specially to our fellows. It was delivered by Ivy representatives there. This was for the pre-conference workshop. Also, among the other benefits of the fellowship, so that you should be considering later on, it will be having access to a KCC database, also having mentorship opportunities, publication support as well. So again, Inji will be the go-to person later on if you've got any ideas, you need proofreading, you need some sort of peer review. And again, like support with the publication process till the very end, till you have your name there after the title of the paper or your case study, along with any international publication vendor. So congratulations, and I leave Inji to...
And actually, when Anne knew about it, she was extremely happy and supportive. She loved the idea of spreading this beyond the borders of the Americas. And I'd like to invite Associate Dean Dr. Samira Atalla to join us in distributing certificates to the fellows. We were a total of 9. However, not all of them are now physically present. So please, Dr. Samir, join us in distributing certificates. First, Nisma Gamal. Here is Nisma. Okay, here you go. Nisma. Congratulations, Nisma. Lamia Marmouche. And we have Lamia Marmouche. Rasha Osman. Rasha Osman. What's your name? Sarah Gamal. Sarah Gamal. And last, but definitely not least, Sarah Al-Gamal. Okay. Can we have a group photo with all the fellows? And this is going to be the first intake of our fellowship to build the network. Inspired by Natra and Michael. Thank you for all the support. And Olga, if she can hear us through the streaming. Okay, we have another fellow. Okay, she was not present. Okay. Marwa Abdullah. Thank you so much, and congratulations. Okay, in a couple of minutes, I would like to do a very quick wrap-up for our 2-day workshop, our 2-day conference, preceded by the online workshop. We were very privileged and honored that we had the representation of more than 9 countries, specifically Kenya, France, Lebanon, Morocco, South Africa. It was amazing. It was a very diversified group. Thank you, Michael and Scott, from flying from all the way from the USA and from the UK. You were truly inspiring and insightful to the case community within the MEA region. We had attendance from more than 40 universities, public and private, in Egypt and outside of Egypt. So I would definitely not name them because the list is so long. We had the representation of different industries. We had tourism, finance, IT, health sector, hospitality, consulting, FMCGs, which I believe enriched our discussions big time, and we had the voice of the industry, which is usually not that evident when we have like an academic talk. So we tried as much as possible to bring all stakeholders to the same room. We hope you enjoyed the conversations. We started with panel 1, as we called it. It was purely industry, having the CEOs of pharmaceutical, FMCG, and how we can bridge industry and academia, and how ongoing partnerships exist. And when they see the value that we give them back as academia and from our students and faculty, they are the ones that they keep this partnership. So it's not a win-lose, it is a win-win. And then we followed by the second panel, having the art of publishing by the Case Center, Emerald, and academics, how we can craft compelling case studies, how can we have impactful cases, where are the gaps, how we can fill these gaps, how can we satisfy the audience. And we had talks about how we can drive sustainability using case studies. Thanks, Marianne. We had Shilpi talking to us about different areas that we could tap in when we do our case research. We also had Michael introducing to us the NACRA, and it's an extremely supportive and strong network. We also discussed today, definitely with the panel 3, we had academics as well as practitioners. We had consulting, who are at the core of cases. And whenever we say in industry, number 1 user of cases and advocate of cases is definitely consulting. And BCG has been working with us for the past 6 years very closely. They support our international case competition. They provide online case solving to students. So again, they fill the rest of the cycle. And last but not least, we had the experts from all over the region. Thanks again for flying to Cairo. It was a privilege having you all. It was an extremely rich and insightful discussion. I believe the audience have benefited a lot. We have tried to summarize years and years of experience, back and forth, what works, what would not. So we hope this was been interesting to you. We would like to finalize with a very quick reel. And it is a reel because we are in the world of AI, social media, and. So it's not the usual video. So it's a reel that I would like to share with you. And immediately after the conference, it would be posted on all of our social media channels. So can we please display it? Sound, please. Thank you. And going forward, we would like to share with you our upcoming events and activities at KCC. And please join us in sharing with your network, sharing with your students, sharing with other colleagues. As we speak now, we have an ongoing international case development competition that we are having in partnership with Ivy Publishing. The deadline for registration is December 10th. However, we have an online webinar by Ivy faculty on December 10th. It's open to undergraduate, graduate, and PhD students, and this is rarely that you would find a competition addressing all students. So please share with all your networks. It's a great opportunity. It's monetary prize, a pool of prizes to $2,000. So I think it's a good incentive for students. Please share within your networks. In Feb, we have the AUC School of Business International Case Competition. This is going to be the 7th edition from the ICC that we run it. It is extremely liked by all of the students all over the globe. It does not involve any costs, till now at least, for travel and accommodation. Students love it. They don't need anything except getting on board, registering as a team, and they get training from BCG, and then they have 20. Aya is laughing because it reminds her she was the founder of the ICC. Yes. They get online training for case cracking, and they get a case study that they have to crack in 24 hours. And you would be amazed with the level and the quality that we receive from students across the globe in different universities. We have the case focus journal submission in September, which we are partnering also with the case focus and many from the region. And we have with Emerald also in September, the Africa and Middle East case writing competition, for which we have just announced the winners. Thank you, and with this, I would leave the floor for a few minutes for our Associate Dean, Dr. Samer Atalla, Associate Dean for Graduate Studies and Research, to give the closing and final remarks for the KCC MEA Case 2024 conference. Thank you, Dr. Samer.
Thank you, Inji. So she said few minutes. Closing and final. So I'll try to keep it very, very short. I know everybody is tired after 2 long days of panels and sightseeings. I feel extremely privileged to speaking today. I think Inji and Shireen, you're very lucky because this is the first event conference under the official new name of the American University School of Business. The president has just announced that we have landed multi-million-dollar gifts, and the School of Business will be named the Onsi Sawiris School of Business. It is the biggest gift in the region. It's the biggest gift in Africa. So today, officially, this is the first event of the Onsi Sawira School of Business. And this is, I think there are going to be a lot of events following that, so I feel very, very pleased. So I don't want to reiterate what Inji said. Really, I'm very flattered and humbled by the presence from the 4 corners of the world. Thank you so much for taking many hours of flights to come and many time of layovers. We really appreciate it, and we are very thankful for your coming here and actively participating. I also want to thank my colleagues from Egypt for coming and participating and engaging. I'm confident that the KCC will continue to be the leading case center in Egypt and in the region, and we're happy to support all universities across Egypt and across the region to emphasize the importance of case studies as a pedagogical tool and as a research tool. I don't know if you know, but I'm an economist, so nobody's perfect, but we in my discipline and my colleagues, we rarely, if any, use case study as a pedagogical tool. I've been, since I assume my position, wanting to do that, but I've been very much inspired by the conversations I've heard, at least in the 2 panels I've attended, about the importance of case studies in the classroom and outside the classroom. I was particularly intrigued by the panel about the linkages between the industry and the academia. It really shows the impact of case studies and how much it goes beyond teaching students and impacts industry, and how much it can be a win-win case between the academia and the industry. I also just listened to this last panel, and it increased my confidence that it is really an important tool for quality search for my colleagues in the School of Business in Egypt and across the world. I don't want to take a lot of your time. I cannot conclude without thanking my colleagues. They've been really dynamos. I only show up in the opening and the ending, but I know that there are a lot of very strong, mostly women, I have to say I'm very proud of that have led the organization of this. I want to start by thanking my dear colleague Nermeen for chairing the scientific committee, along with my other colleagues. I hope I don't forget anyone, Hakim, Tolba, Maha, and Ayman Ismail. Did I miss any? And Marina, of course, Amina Biden. So aside from Hakim and Ayman and Tolba, it's overwhelming majority. And obviously, I want to thank the two ladies in the back, Angie and Shireen. They manage it so quietly that I basically did not know that they're managing a conference. So thank you so much. This is an excellent work, and it lays down the foundation for many, many conferences to go and many, many events that the KCC runs. And as I said, we aim at the School of Business to be really at the Unsi Sawira School of Business to be impactful, to lead the region into more impactful business applications, whether in the classroom or beyond the classroom. Again, I want to conclude by thanking you so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening. I hope you stay more and do touristic stuff, and have a safe flight back home. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Atallah, for the closing remarks. Thank you, esteemed attendees, guests, panelists, speakers, and we are looking forward to seeing you in the next KCC MEA Case Conference in 2025. We'll be in touch with you regarding the date beforehand, and looking forward to meeting all of you. Thank you so much for such a great conference. Thank you.